So why you need $3,000 a month to retire in the Philippines? I had a guy come into my live stream today and ask me if he could come to the Philippines with $5,000 cash or $5,000 in savings and $1,500 a month in income. And I told him no, and I'll tell you why. While you could technically do that, I just don't think that's a wise life decision. I think people think that the Philippines is cheaper than it actually is. And I'm assuming this was a Western guy, as almost, any of my audience that would be asking that question obviously is from, America, Canada, Australia, UK, etc., etc. So what I typically spend in a month is around the $3,000 mark. Some months $3,500, maybe some months as low as $2,500, but I really don't think that $1,500 in 2024 is going to be a very comfortable existence. Could you do it? Certainly. Would I advise it? Definitely not. You need to have something of an emergency fund, and I think $5,000 is the exact amount, or probably, plus the plane fare. So if you get down to $7,000, I would go home immediately. In fact, if you got down to $11,000, I would book a one-way ticket home, because you're getting into a dangerous area where you don't have an emergency fund, essentially. If you had a major health problem, if you needed to fly home, if you lost your phone, any of those things could knock off, $1,000 to $10,000. Obviously, a health thing could cost you more than $10,000 right out the gate. Now, some people have credit, but credit is not money, and some people don't. So $3,000 is just the perfect place to be in your budget. From a number of different things, you figure you want to live at Western standards. So Western standards is going to cost you, anywhere from $600 after utilities. If you get a micro studio in a Cebu or a Manila, perhaps a bit cheaper in Cebu, and then you would have $2,000 for spending. You would think, oh, well, I don't need $2,000 for spending. Well, you're likely going to want to have a girlfriend, realistically. And your girlfriend is probably going to make less than 20,000 pesos a month, or $350 per month, which means that her likely contribution to the relationship would be next to nothing. If you're bringing in 10 times that, and you probably have some wealth built up, and she may need to give her family a few dollars in the event of an emergency, or many of these women have their families on a small allowance, as the family may be living, the entire family may be living on $15K or something. Now, when you get into affluent women and Macatis and BGCs and Alabanks and stuff, that may be out the window. But the chances of you landing a girl in that bracket are going to be extremely low. Could it happen? I did it, and I'm sure you could do it, but most people like the easiest first option, and most of the women that you're going to meet on the dating sites are going to be women that need a financial leg up in life, or certainly at least you just to pay for their food and coffee every morning and stuff like that. And I know that doesn't sound romantic, and that sounds terrible, but that's just the reality of life. You live at Western standards, and unless you're going to bring yourself down to a lower standard of living and eating dried fish every day and maybe making a 3-in-1, that would mean that your lady friend is going to come with you on that ride if she's staying with you that night or moves in with you or whatever the case may be. So $3,000 gives you a bit of room to where you could probably visit a beach once a month if you do it extremely budget. You can get trips to beaches for 2,000 pesos each way. You can get hotel rooms on the beach in some instances for, 50, 60, 70 bucks for nice rooms. And you're going to need a little bit of enjoyment money. You don't just want to exist, you want to actually live and be able to see Boracay, see Siargao, see Palawan, see Bohol, you know, go to Cebu, go to Manila, wherever you're, you know, not living or whatever. You're going to want to be able to enjoy this beautiful country. And you may also want to go to Thailand. You may want to go to Bali. You may, you know, have a trip home once a year to visit your parents or your children or whoever you left behind in the States. So I just caution people from coming out with that $1,500, $1,000 budget. This is not in 2007. You know, things have gotten way more expensive just since I've been here. You know, the price to have my condo cleaned has doubled. There's just a lot of different situations where the price went way up. You know what I'm saying? It's just no longer the dirt cheap paradise that it once was. The prices in the Metro Manilas and the Cebus and stuff have just really, really, really inflated. Now it's still extremely affordable, you know, for services and transportation and accommodations and even food in some instances. But I'll tell you, 3,000 is the sweet spot. People go, oh, well, I don't want a girlfriend, or I'm not willing to pay for a girl. You're gonna get lonely. I did after a year, even with having my live streams and my, you know, YouTube channel to keep me company, spending all day and night making content. I eventually said, screw it. I gotta have a life, man. I don't care if I make less money or don't drop a video every day or do 10 hours of lives a day. I gotta have a life. I gotta enjoy my life. I gotta really, really enjoy this country. I didn't just come out here to be on a money-making mission and just work all day and night, even though I was blessed to get the opportunity on YouTube and I still keep it going. You're gonna eventually get a girlfriend. The chances of you getting a group of Filipino friends that you really trust and are super close with a group of guys is basically slim to none. Filipinos are awesome and you can definitely do it. And I have tons of acquaintances and I like them and trust them, but you know, I don't have them over to my condo every night. So it's just the reality of life is that you're gonna want to get a companion, and said companion is likely gonna need a bit of help, and that's going to come out of your budget, even if it's just the daily morning Starbucks and you know, going out to eat or cooking at home, or you know, the basics of life. So can it be done for less? Could you do it on $2,000? Could you do it on $2,500? It all depends on how much your rent is and how much your food is. But I do it for $3,000. Most of the guys I know that are, you know, kind of remotely successful or able to kind of do what they want when they want, do it on $3,000. And I definitely think that you should try to do it on $3,000. And if you don't have $3,000 a month, you may want to rethink coming out here. You know, if you're set to live sort of more of an existing level of life, then, you know, you could probably do it on $2,000. But if you really want to live, most people don't leave, you know, go 8,000 miles from home for anything but women and to really get to live. You know, $36,000 a year, you're damn near poverty in America. Here, you are not poverty at all. I consider myself to be living an upper middle class lifestyle with multiple condos and, you know, monthly trips to the beach, etc. on $3,000. Maybe sometimes it's stretched to $3,500. Maybe sometimes it's a little less. Probably my biggest month ever was $4,000. But you don't really want to just be sitting at home staring at the wall, you know, cooking a piece of chicken or top ramen every day when you come all the way this far from home. So if you got a nice chunk of change, you can come out and make it happen that way. You know, you bring out 100 or 2,000 and just be prepared to go home in 5-10 years, you know, or I mean, I guess, you know, way sooner than that, you know, if you stick to the budget. But it just depends. You know what I mean? I would really, really caution you from coming out here with $1,500 and no savings, $1,000 a month, something like that. And one more thing is, don't try to get a job in the Philippines. Your job is your telephone. Whether you can do YouTube or do Cambly and teach English, you don't need any certification for that. You do a video tutorial and do that. Don't come here and pass out your job application. You wouldn't be willing to work for what they're paying. And those elite jobs of like operations manager and things that almost pay a Western salary are reserved for Filipinos 100% of the time, unless your company stations you here, like an American company sends you here for 6 months or a year, or to start a project, or you know some startup or something. Passing out your application in a Manila or a Cebu would be likely to get you a job for maybe $15 a day if you were extremely blessed. I don't say this, you know, to be rude or anything. I just have had too many people that wanted to, you know, come here and find employment. And I think that's the most ass backwards, dumbest thing you could ever do. You make your money in the West, you spend it here, your MacBook, your PC, your iPhone, your iPad. That is your employment. Whatever you can do. Yeah, I've said it a million times when I do consultations and people ask me this question. Whatever you can do where you're sitting right now with your computer or phone or whatever is what you can do in the Philippines. It's unfortunate, but that's just the reality. A lot of people out here working for $10 a day, $20 a day if they're lucky, $7 a day in Boracay. That's the provincial wage. The minimum wage in Manila is $5.70. You know, if you can make 1,000 pesos a day or 1,000 US dollars a month, you're considered a big earner if you make 1,000 US dollars a month. A lot of girls I know are over the moon to make 30K, which is approximately $500. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. And, you know, come out here when the time is right. The Philippines will always be here. And you do not want to be in this country and be in a bad financial situation or immediately have to go home. You need to plan correctly. I suggest having a minimum of 100,000 US dollars in savings and have a minimum of $3,000 a month coming in. I know that sounds like a lot. You could do it on 50 and go home in a few years if you need to. You could do it for much less if you want to wing it and give it a shot, or you already got a YouTube career, or you're already working on Cambly or whatever. But I just don't want to set people up for failure and set people up to not be prepared for an emergency, or set people up to live a less than desirable life of just existence. That's exactly why we want to get out of the West, is to stop existing and start living. So that's why we come to the Philippines. So don't downgrade your life 8,000 miles away. I don't care if you work at McDonald's for $18 an hour in a major city or Target, and just stack your money and live low in the West, and then come out to the Philippines and you can live like a king on 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 a month, whatever it may be. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and sana all beautiful Manila skyline until now and then.